Hello and welcome to this presentation on Reconnecting with School, Guidance on Summer Programme for Post-Primary Schools participating in the DEIS programme. In the control panel, you will find a number of documents to support the planning processes for the summer programme. There are 6 documents in total: a literacy strategy document, a numeracy strategy document, 3 digital learning technology strategy documents, and an overall plan for a suggested approach to a day within the programme itself. The elements of this presentation have been used in the design of a suggested approach to a day, and each teacher will be able to see how the aims of the document can be achieved through the teaching and learning activities that have been designed. The suggested approach to the day factors in the recommendation from the guidance document to encourage students to be involved in the preparation of food and to eat together. And now, into the presentation itself. During the COVID-19 school closure period, it is recognised that school principals and teachers have gone to great lengths to ensure that students remain connected with school and education. It is acknowledged that teachers and principals throughout the school system have made huge efforts and undertaken a lot of work in order to adapt their teaching approaches to facilitate a move to remote learning. While significant work has been carried out at school level in order to encourage all students to engage in learning, not all students have engaged. For many socio-economically disadvantaged students, remote learning presents a particular challenge, as many of these students and their families have limited opportunity to engage with learning in a remote teaching environment. It is generally acknowledged that these pupils are at more risk of disengaging in a remote learning environment relative to their peers, and may fail to make successful transition to a more senior class or struggle to re-engage with school. While many schools made significant efforts to establish what the barriers were and provide solutions, many were unable to reach all students. Feedback from schools, the inspectorate surveys, education partners is that there is a genuine concern amongst teachers that children and young people who have disengaged may struggle on return to school, and there is an increased risk of pupils struggling to engage next year. It is for this reason that DEIS schools are being offered the opportunity to arrange a programme for reconnecting with school. Public health guidelines will inform all practices around the design and delivery of the summer programme. Please ensure you consult the Department of Education and Skills website for the most up-to-date information regarding the public health guidelines when planning for the summer programme. To this end, there are factors which must be considered, such as the Department of Education and Skills guidelines and circulars. All day-to-day circulars and school policies under the Department of Education and Skills apply. For example, those relating to child protection, anti-bullying, and health and safety. Another factor is applications. The expression of interest form will be available for completion on the department's website from Friday the 12th of June and must be submitted no later than Wednesday the 1st of July. Another factor is criteria for inclusion of students. Schools understand their own students' context and circumstances and are best placed to determine which students may benefit most from attending the programme. Those most at risk of educational disadvantage, school disengagement, and early school leaving should be considered as a priority and should be guided by the DEIS themes. The maximum number of students who can be supported in each DEIS post-primary school is 10% of the September 2019 enrolment. Schools may consider it useful to maintain a contingency waiting list of students to ensure that any vacancies which arise can be filled. Another factor is the staffing of the summer programme. A pupil-teacher ratio of 12:1 is to be implemented. All teachers must be registered members of the Teaching Council and be committed for the full week of the programme. It is important that Irish is the sole language of communication in the Irish medium programmes. A fifth factor is the timing of the summer programme. It is a matter for the school to decide on which week is the most appropriate to run the summer program. While it is considered that the optimal timing of delivery of the summer program is as close to the official reopening of the school as possible, this is completely at the school's discretion, and it can be run at any time throughout July or August. The time allocated should be based on the existing school timetable in terms of beginning and end times each day. Teachers should use the time at the beginning and the end of the day for planning and review. Students should begin no later than 10 a.m. and finish no earlier than 3 p.m. A sixth factor is transport. Where transport to and from a DEIS post-primary summer program is identified as a barrier for certain students to attend the program, schools may make their own local transport arrangements and claim the associated costs from the department up to a maximum of €1,750 per week per school. It is important to note that transport should only be arranged for those students who are already availing of school transport under the department's post-primary school transport scheme. A seventh factor, all claims in respect of transport costs must be accompanied by the appropriate receipts, for example, private bus company receipts and taxi receipts. Names of students who were provided with transport to and from the summer program and confirmation that they are currently availing of the post-primary school transport scheme. An eighth factor is grant funding. A grant is payable and is comprised of teacher costs. Teachers employed on the program will be paid the relevant hourly rate as set out in the DEIS Circular 41/19 for class contact hours, and for any CPD undertaken, please see the relevant links on the department website. There will be a €30 capitation per student to cover any student materials, ancillary costs, overheads, etc. Administration costs and overseer allowance, and finally, transport costs if applicable. The relevant hourly rate as per DES Circular 41/19 will be paid to teachers who undertake administration work in connection with the summer education program, as regards its associated administration. It is appreciated that this work may be shared by a number of teachers. A maximum cumulative of 14 hours per school in terms of administration will be paid, irrespective of the number of individuals involved. This work includes, but is not limited to, identifying and contacting suitable students and their parents/guardians, ensuring the proper logistics are in place in the school, arranging transport if applicable, submitting all relevant documentation to the department. The role of the overseer is to oversee the program and must be present in the school for the full duration of the program in order to deal with any issues that may arise. The overseer is not permitted to participate in the program in a teaching role. The department will issue claim forms to any schools participating in the summer program for completion and return at the end of the program. It is intended that all grants associated with the program will be paid to participating schools by the end of October 2020. A ninth and final factor is training for teachers. All program teachers will be required to attend an online training and information webinar, which will take place over 2 sessions. Each session will take a maximum time of 1 hour 30 minutes. The first session has been developed by NEPS with a focus on the impact of COVID-19 on teacher and student well-being and reconnecting with school in the current situation, and this is the second session. Rationale. The goal is to ensure, insofar as possible, that these students can reintegrate and transition into their planned education setting for the next school year with their peers. This is an entirely voluntary program. It is acknowledged that schools and teachers have already had to undertake significant work in dealing with the colleagues or challenges of school closures and remote learning. However, the department would encourage schools to avail of this opportunity and all the necessary support and advice to be provided. There are considerations around identified barriers. There is a circle of concern and there is a circle of influence. Students across the country have not shared the same experiences and levels of access to remote learning, and a significant number of vulnerable students have suffered as a result. Some of these challenges and barriers have, for example, been a lack of scaffolding of learning that would take place in classrooms meant students could not complete tasks, or a lack of ability to self-motivate or persevere at tasks. The aims of the summer program. This program is separate to summer programs run under the School Completion Program and is a specific initiative in response to school closures from March 2020 due to COVID-19 restrictions. This program is intended to supplement, not replace, the School Completion Program, which is a targeted program funded by TUSLA Education Support Services under the remit of the Department of Children and Youth Affairs and operationalised by local management committees. Each school has the autonomy to decide upon the weighting given to each suggested component of the summer program. The school is best placed to know the students and to design a program that meets the identified needs of each participant. It is suggested that as far as possible, an integrated approach to the suggested components of the program be taken. The components are student well-being, technology, learning to learn, literacy, numeracy, and academic content. A project-based approach to integrating the components is advisable. Teaching approaches. Teachers delivering this program will be very familiar with their students, will be experts in their field, and will already have strong relationships with their students. This relationship is the most important platform on which to help students reconnect with school and regain some of their learning loss. It is acknowledged that available personnel will dictate the components of the program that can be delivered. Post-primary teachers are subject specialists, and depending on how many teachers can be available to teach on the program in any individual school, there will be a limit to the subject content that can be delivered. For that reason, it is very important that in conjunction with this subject expertise, teachers plan to provide the students with opportunities to learn the other skills referred to in the content section. Student voice. In order to elicit the student voice and bring it to the fore in the designing of the program, well-being surveys could play a pivotal role in soliciting the student voice. Students' motivation to learn increases when they are given opportunities to give meaningful contributions to how and what they learn. This approach aligns with the rights-based approach of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child to involving children and young people in the decisions that affect them, and the principles of the Lundy model of participation. Resources that are available on the DCYA-sponsored Our Voices, Our Schools website may be useful in this regard. Technology. It is very likely that students will need upskilling on the use of technology to support their learning. For some students, managing online learning platforms is a challenge. Students who have been working mainly off their phones and who are provided with new digital devices may need training in how to use them optimally. Some students may need to learn how to navigate the school's learning platform or platforms in order to become sufficiently proficient to be able to access assignments, upload completed work, communicate with their teachers, engage with online lessons, and engage with peers. Learning to learn. A well-designed program should offer the opportunity to explore what effective learning looks like and what the outcomes of that learning should look like. Categorizing what has been learned, the cognitive aspect, and how it has been learned, the metacognitive aspects. In order to support students in reintegrating into school life, it will be very important to focus on the skills associated with learning to learn. Literacy. There is a compilation of effective literacy strategies in the attachments of the webinar. These can be found in the control panel. These can be used to support the suggested approach to a day that will follow later on in the presentation. Good literacy skills remain the foundation of all learning. Encouraging students to focus on improving literacy skills will be very important in the program, and this can be done throughout any subject area or any task assigned to students. In terms of numeracy, there is also a compilation of effective numeracy strategies in the attachments within the control panel, and these can also be used to support the suggested approach to a day. Developing students' numeracy skills are vital to improve their learning outcomes in a wide range of subjects. Research shows that learning loss in the summer months typically impacts most on students' numeracy skills. It is important, therefore, to ensure a strong numeracy component, ideally in cross-curricular components within the program. A day in the life. The components of the program could sit as standalone elements or be integrated so that students can experience a meaningful connection between what is to be learned. The most important focus of the summer program at school level is to ensure that students are provided with the skills necessary to engage in a productive way with the new school term. Therefore, it is suggested that less focus is placed on subject areas or indeed subject content, as it is not within the scope of this program to mitigate the learning loss that has taken place across the curriculum. Consideration rather should be given to providing opportunities for students to participate in project-type activities, outdoor opportunities, active learning, music, sports, etc. Elements that will encourage a greater level of re-engagement. So, how to start, where to begin. At the beginning of the program, students should be provided with a short questionnaire to establish what they believe are the learning needs and how they could be best supported. Alternatively, it may be possible to interview each student to ascertain their needs. The purpose of the questionnaire or the interview is to enable teachers to provide as much individualized support as possible for the students and to ensure that their priority learning needs are met. In order for a summer program to be successful in achieving its aims, it is very important for schools to encourage parental engagement with the program. The parents of learners who will be most in need of availing of the summer program are likely to have concerns about their child's lack of engagement with schooling for such a long period. Schools may wish to seek the input of the homeschool liaison coordinators in this regard. Digital skills. The protocols for return to school will be informed by the most up-to-date public health guidelines. But if a blended learning approach is decided upon, the students who have suffered the most from being disengaged will need the most support. A summer program which builds their familiarity with the school's chosen digital platform or platforms and improves the students' confidence in accessing teaching and learning will be the most effective. To that end, there is a consideration that remote learning is a temporary measure, and remote learning can never be a fully effective substitute for face-to-face teaching and learning. In order to support and assist teachers in implementing a program that highlights and brings attention to the need to develop students' competencies with the school's platform, the activities in the suggested project refer to a number of digital learning technology strategies that can be utilized to support students in the use of the school's chosen platforms. The digital learning strategies serve as a bank of materials that could be used depending on the school's context and resources. Again, these can be found within the control panel of the webinar itself. They are breakout rooms. These can be employed to help students in problem solving, jigsaw activities, peer planning, peer assessment, independent learning, teacher observation, and targeted support to the some and to the few. The second is live and recorded webinars. Students who cannot access a device or learning in a blended learning setting at home can use live or recorded webinars to create their own timetable and access the learning at a time and at a location that best suits their learning style and situation. And thirdly, green screen. Depending on resources, creative approach to demonstrating learning, sharing that learning with parents and the community, and to encouraging student engagement for those that may have regressed during the pandemic can be supported through the use of a creative approach to green screens. Each of these strategies come with a number of supportive applications. So how could we use these strategies? Where would they best fit? And how would they best help to achieve the learning outcome? There are 3 digital learning approaches that will be referred to in the main activity. Their use is not prescriptive, but rather an option in supporting student engagement and in supporting cognitive development. The application of the 3 digital learning approaches depend on the resources available. Schools have chosen a wide range of platforms to facilitate remote learning based on their unique context and available resources. The digital platforms have sought to support teachers in building upon their competencies. There are a number of online training programs and events in existence. Some of these programs also seek to support the ongoing development of effective pedagogical approaches. Remote learning opportunities. The applications of the digital technologies in supporting highly effective teaching and learning practices are being shared amongst teachers in a truly collaborative spirit. The applications arise out of the commitment to overcoming the obstacle and challenges that students are experiencing. For example, if a student is using a breakout room on a digital platform and does not want to show or highlight their home situation, they may use a digital background to overcome these obstacles or challenges. Or, with webinars, if a student does not have an ideal home situation or access to a device at a particular time of the day, if a webinar is provided as a recorded event, the student can listen back to it on the phone or on a device at a time and location that best suits their learning style. This encourages independent learning and also offers the ability to create and engineer their own learning timetables across any week in a school term or across the summer program itself.
From the document, Reconnecting with Schools, Guidance on the Summer Programme, on page 5, one of the components is to look at the area of learning to learn. In this slide, we're looking at the learning cycle. It is made up of 3 components. Number 1, planning. There are 2 tasks, what you need to learn, and then deciding on how you are going to learn it. What learning strategies could be used? What tasks, resources that may help? Number 2, monitoring, requires you to ask, how am I doing at learning this? It's a strategy to check progress on what you have learned, what you have to learn, and if the strategies you are using are helping you. Number 3, evaluating. This involves you to reflect on how well you met your planned learning and evaluating the overall success. Planning. At each stage in the learning cycle, there are key questions that you will ask yourself to support your learning process. You will identify the key questions for each stage in the cycle, along with supporting questions you will want to consider. The key questions for planning are, what do I need to learn, and how am I going to learn it? There are 11 supporting questions, and just to touch on a few, the first question is, what do I already know about this topic? This is linking in with the prior knowledge. The second question asks, what are the main concepts or ideas? If we move to question 5 then, it looks at how do I break the learning into small steps, making sure the learning can be broken into manageable chunks for the students. Question 9, what charts or graphic organisers will help me organise and process the concepts? Question 11 here is pivotal. How can I connect with my teacher classmate? Making this explicit, especially in the current climate, that if students are working at home, they know where and how to go about getting help. Monitoring. Here we have one key question. How am I doing at learning this content and material? There are 7 supporting questions, and again, we'll look at a few of them. Question 1, what concepts or ideas do I understand well? And then question 2, what concepts or ideas are still confusing for me? Question 3, what questions do I have to help me overcome the parts that are confusing? Question 6, what other strategies could I use to learn this content? Possibly using ideas from other subjects. Question 7, if I get stuck on some work at home, I can ask myself, am I using all of the resources available to me? The books, the notes, the internet, the teacher, and my classmates. This information was adapted from Tanner in 2012. Evaluating. The key question here is, did I learn the content well? With 8 supporting questions to consider. Question 1, did my plan for learning work? Question 2 and question 3 look at what worked well and what did not go so well. It's always important to reflect on these questions to change for your next task. How do we know what has gone well? Question 6, when did I get stuck? And what did I do to solve the problem? Question 7, what helped me learn? Was it graphic organisers? Was it human resources? Teachers, peers that helped me? What was it that helped me? Removing the scaffolding towards an independent learning. This is a 7-step model for teaching these strategies. This summer programme is all about moving towards independent learning to encourage students to move from number 1, activating prior knowledge, to number 6, independent practice, or 7, a structured reflection. It's important that teachers make gradual changes in support. Initially, scaffolding such as direct modelling and support from the teacher is necessary. But as guided practice moves to independent practice, teacher input will change to monitoring and intervening only when necessary. The graphic here is the teacher handing responsibility to the student. The student is the dark pink and the teacher is the light pink. We can see that students who disengaged at 1 or 2 may have coped fine if the teacher was there. But what about when the students were left to their own devices? At step 7, you can see the student is taking responsibility for their own learning. Putting the pieces together. Over the next few slides, you will see a plan that you could use in your own school. At the top right of each of the next few slides, you will see categories of indoor, outdoor, and the use of digital technology and where they can be used. We will also link each of the sections of the day with the different components such as technology, learning to learn, literacy, and numeracy, which you will see on each of the next few slides. Come dine with me. This is a sample day that combines the components of the DEIS summer plan, page 5 in the document. This day that we have chosen is a suitable day for all ages and all year groups. It combines the inside, outside and digital approach, so you will see the icons on each slide. We will also provide you with a Word document of this project plan, along with some other resources, which include numeracy, literacy and technology. This document encourages the day to begin no later than 10 a.m. and finishing no earlier than 3 p.m. This is from the Reconnecting with School Guidance on Summer programme, and it's on page 4. The day we have decided to start at 9:30 and finish at 3:30. Again, these are just suggested times. The times you decide are up to your school and what suits you. So this is starting at 9:30. This is a design of a suggested approach, and the day starts with an exhibition space, set up possibly in the canteen area or a hallway of the school, with pictures of possible role models, a video playing got to do with Ronaldo's diet and his sporting regime, and possibly a video of a teacher or a student from the school talking about their diet. Students will meet at this point, chat, listen to the video and discuss the various stimuli. Then the teacher will introduce what the day will entail and the rationale and ask students for their input. Student voice is key here, as we pointed out on slide 8. We will then ask students about ways they could showcase their learning at the end of the day. Some examples could include designing a healthy menu, creating a dish, the use of technology, the green screen, a possible application of DLT depending on the school's resources as mentioned on slide 17, or the school could have a bake-off. To make the links with the various components, if we were to link with technology, we could have a live poll used for student voice and where students could express their ideas. Learning to learn, we will be using the learning cycle as discussed earlier, looking at the 3 stages: planning, monitoring and evaluating. Literacy, oral literacy will be evident throughout the session. Numeracy, the results from the students could also be graphed. Working together. So the icons you can see on this particular slide is indoors at the top right and digital. So here we will co-create groups and roles with the students. Breakout rooms could be used here from the digital strategies on slide 17 to increase student familiarity with school platforms. Plan the task ahead, research what is necessary, cost and budget, where could we get the best value, and look at different shops and compare prices. Photos could also be recorded. On return, students can compare prices in different supermarkets, the difference in bulk buying rather than buying the ingredients separately. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the links. So technology, research on the internet, photos could be uploaded. Learning to learn, breaking the task into small manageable steps. Important to model this. Graphic organizers could be used here to plan the activities. Literacy, writing the menu. And numeracy, costing and budgeting, comparing prices of different supermarkets. Get on your feet if you want to eat. So again, we see the icons at the top right, indoors, outdoors, and technology. Students here will research the food pyramid, look at the choices available to them, and base their menu on this. Discuss and decide, make decisions, depending on the resources available to them in their school. Shopping could either be done online or make a trip to the local supermarket. There's lots of options for extension here. For example, students could track and trace food items, recording the country of origin and distance to Ireland, and possibly graph the nutritional results of the foods. On the right-hand side, you will see links to technology. Students can research the food pyramid and possibly draft their own food pyramid, and they could submit their work on a school platform. The digital strategy spoken about on slide 17 could also be used here. This allows students who are in a busy home with one device to allow students to listen back to the webinar and create their own timetable. Learning to learn. Dealing with challenge, asking for help, and monitoring their progress. Literacy. Discussion, menu planning, and also designing a shopping list. Numeracy. Cost and budgeting, ratios, and quantities to find the best value. Create a plate. The icons you can see at the top right again here are indoors, outdoors, and technology. At 12 o'clock, students can follow their recipe and prepare their meal. At 1 o'clock is the Come Dine With Me. This will involve tasting of dishes, sharing of lunches. On page 4 of the document, Reconnecting with School, Guidance on Summer Programme, suggests that students should be encouraged to be involved in the preparation of food and eat together. Obviously, schools must follow the government health guidelines, which we spoke about in slide 2. The DES website will have the most up-to-date guidelines. Students will assess dishes according to agreed success criteria using review sheets. On the right-hand side, you will see technology links, digital photography of the dishes, learning to learn, develop tasks and organizational skills, literacy, build student vocabulary, and numeracy, gather and use the data. Food critics. The icons on the top right are indoors and technology, and the suggested time that we have chosen here is from 2 until 2:40. Students will firstly review their own food plan, how it went. Then they will collaborate their views of each other's food with the use of breakout rooms. Students can critique foods by the physical appearance, the nutritional value, and the links to the food pyramid or taste. Students can then create a shared document that students can all access. A template and word count could be used here to keep students on track. On the right-hand side, again, we will see a link to technology where students could use breakout rooms and also where they'll be uploading their reviews. The learning to learn, evaluate their plan using the key and supporting questions from slide 23. Literacy, reviewing their own food plan and writing reviews of the other foods. Numeracy, giving marks. So what? What is next? The time suggested here is from 2:45 until 3. This is where students will watch a YouTube video. This is a stimulus to reflect on the food that students picked and what is necessary for a healthy diet, keeping the learnings from the food pyramid in mind. And why is this learning important? And how can they apply it to their own lives? What now? The suggested time is here is from 3 until 3:30. So firstly, to review the learning cycle, the plan, monitor and evaluate that we spoke about in slide 20. Then what did I learn? Looking at the areas of technology, learning to learn, literacy and numeracy. Then how to present the work. Possibly a digital diary could be used, where it could be scaffolded day 1 and move towards self-regulated entries over the week. WWW, what worked well, and EBI, even better if. Blue sky thinking, next steps, areas of interest, and student input. End of day reflection. Reflect on past successes and how they were achieved to help students to become more aware of their existing good strategies. Rolfe, Freshwater and Jasper of 2001 proposed using 3 questions when reflecting on learning. What? So what? And now what? What? What have I learned? So what? What does this tell me about my strengths and about my gaps in understanding? And now what? What can I do to improve my understanding? Where are my next steps? What are my next steps? What are my targets and goals for moving forward? The end of day reflection. This is an opportunity to develop digital skills, evaluate the planned learning, gather student voice, and identify further learning. For further information, you can find some documents with some links here. The first one, Reconnecting with School, Guidance on Summer Programme for Post-Primary Schools Participating in the DEIS Programme. Number 2, the Terms and Conditions for Reconnecting with School, Summer Programme in DEIS Post-Primary Schools. Number 3, Frequently Asked Questions on Summer Programme for DEIS Post-Primary Schools. And number 4, School COVID-19 Response Plan Summer Provision. This is the most recent and comprehensive link. Please ensure you consult the Department of Education and Skills website for the most up-to-date information regarding the public health guidelines for the Summer Programme 2020. Just a reminder again that the expression of interest form will be available for completion on the department's website from Friday the 12th of June and must be submitted no later than Wednesday the 11th of July. Also in the control panel you will find the following attachments. Number 1, a project plan for a suggested day. 2 and 3 are numeracy and literacy, and these are links to the Reconnecting with School document to guidance on the summer programme. It also links to the Literacy and Numeracy for Learning and Life document, and also has many activities to promote literacy and numeracy development. And number 4, the digital learning strategies. All of these fall under the umbrella of re-engaging with school life. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this webinar.